All right, let's dive right into this explainer and look at how safety managers can actually build an impenetrable liability shield using 9 essential pieces of crane gear. Look, every crane operator and safety manager knows that one single, tiny, overlooked detail can turn a routine lift into an absolute tragedy. But today, we aren't just talking about basic compliance. We're talking about creating multiple, overlapping layers of physical and digital protection that not only keep your crew alive, but protect your company from completely devastating legal exposure. So here's what we're covering today. 1. The high cost of failure. 2. Preventing catastrophic load drops. 3. Securing ground and environment. 4. Crew communication and PPE. 5. Emergency rescue readiness. And finally, 6. Documentation, your legal shield. Section 1. The high cost of failure. Okay, first off, we've really got to look at the raw vulnerability of a construction site and why your job as a safety manager is just so incredibly critical. The construction industry presents these unique, really high-stakes hazards. And when you bring cranes into the mix, well, those stakes are magnified exponentially. Honestly, ask yourself, when a lift goes wrong, what's the actual true cost to your crew and your bottom line? We so often focus on the immediate physical damage, but the ripple effects of a crane accident can literally tear a company apart, both morally and financially. The numbers here are frankly pretty grim. In the U.S. alone, construction sites witness roughly 42 crane-related fatalities every single year. Mobile cranes actually account for the bulk of these, right? Followed by tower cranes. That gives crane operators a fatality rate of 18.5 deaths per 100,000 workers. It basically makes this one of the absolute most hazardous operations you oversee. And what's truly heartbreaking about all of this is that so many of these are entirely preventable. And beyond that tragic, irreplaceable loss of human life, the financial impact, it's staggering. A single crane-related fatality averages out to about $1.4 million, and that encompasses everything: direct costs, massive legal fees, work stoppages that can halt a project for weeks, and of course, skyrocketing, crippling insurance premiums that can haunt a company for years down the line. You're basically facing a multi-tiered legal threat here. On one end, you've got OSHA fines ranging from around $15,000 for serious violations all the way up to over $156,000 for willful or repeated offenses. Then there are the personal injury lawsuits, which routinely result in multi-million-dollar settlements, mostly because the courts demand you provide the safest possible environment. And at the very top tier, criminal charges, executive prosecution. Supervisors can and absolutely do face jail time when gross negligence leads to a worker's death. Section 2. Preventing catastrophic load drops. So now that we know exactly what's at stake, let's talk hardware. Specifically, the engineered gear that prevents those catastrophic load drops that trigger these devastating lawsuits. Your very first layer of defense is the anti-tube blocking, or A2B device. This is arguably one of the most critical life-saving tools on the entire crane. It physically prevents the hook block from being pulled up into the crane's upper structure. Because if that tube blocking happens, the wire rope can just snap right under the extreme tension, causing a massive, lethal load drop. The A2B device actually detects this approach and immediately shuts down the hoist function. It stops the disaster cold before it starts, while still giving the operator a chance to safely correct the situation. Next up, we've got load moment indicators, or LMIs. Think of these as your digital guardians. While the A2B prevents physical blocks from colliding, the LMI is actively tracking the crane's capacity. It's continuously crunching the numbers, calculating the relationship between load weight, boom length, and angle. It gives the operator real-time feedback. So you get a caution at 85%, a pretty strict warning at 95%, and then a complete overriding shutdown of dangerous movements once you hit 100% capacity. It essentially stops operators from making a fatal error in judgment before they actually break the equipment. Section 3. Securing ground and environment. All right, let's bring it down to the ground. Because get this, tip-overs account for a massive 50% of your total accident liability. You could have absolutely perfect rigging in the air, but if the ground fails, you lose the whole shebang. Float pads and outrigger monitoring systems are quite literally the foundation of your safety shield. They take the immense, highly concentrated weight of that crane and distribute it across a much larger surface area, ensuring the outriggers don't just punch straight through soft soil or crack concrete. Now, following precise ground-bearing protocols is legally non-negotiable. We are talking about calculating anywhere from 12 to 60 square feet of pad per outrigger, depending on your soil type. But today, we go even further with smart pads that have built-in pressure sensors. They instantly alert operators if the weight distribution starts getting wonky.
Add to that LED warning lights to keep pedestrians out of those invisible danger zones around the outriggers. And this is crucial. Strict wind speed monitoring that automatically halts operations the second gusts hit that 20 to 35 mile per hour danger zone.
Section 4. Crew communication and PPE. So hardware handles the crane, right? But protecting the human element is how you prevent those struck-by incidents and mitigate those multi-million-dollar personal injury claims. Making sure your crew is equipped properly isn't just a good idea, it's your fundamental legal duty as an employer. We're talking high-visibility vests that actually meet ANSI Class 2 or 3 standards, 4-point suspension hard hats that can take a serious impact, and self-retracting lifelines that instantly lock up during a fall. If a worker gets hurt and it turns out you skimped on providing certified, properly rated PPE, well, you have virtually zero defense in a liability case. And you know, there's a real hidden danger in cheap communication. When you're coordinating a heavy lift, basic analog radios are a massive liability. Upgrading to professional digital radios with noise-canceling tech, an IP67 weather rating, and most importantly, man-down GPS alerts is absolutely critical. It's how you eliminate the kinds of deadly miscommunications that lead to workers getting struck by swinging loads. Section 5. Emergency Rescue Readiness. Now, what happens when preventative measures fail? Because you absolutely have to plan for when they do. Your emergency rescue readiness becomes your final physical barrier against wrongful death liabilities. Let me be clear, standard first aid kits and just calling 911 simply do not cut it anymore. Standard fire trucks often can't even reach modern tower cranes. That means you're legally and morally obligated to implement very specific high-angle rescue steps, from GPS-enabled beacons to specialized trauma kits meant for crush injuries, right down to rope rescue systems and self-descent devices for operators who might be trapped in a cab. If you don't have this exact gear position on site, a survivable accident can easily turn fatal while you're just standing there waiting for specialized external rescue teams to arrive. Section 6. Documentation, your legal shield. Finally, let's talk about your ultimate defense, the receipts. This is how you prove to OSHA, to the insurance companies, and to the courts that you actually did your job. Paper checklists, you know the ones, usually coffee-stained, shoved under a seat in a truck cab, or just plain lost, they are a massive liability in a modern court case. Digital inspection tracking software is a total game changer. It transforms all that messy, subjective paperwork into undeniable, time-stamped proof of your safety compliance. The real power of the software is the immutable audit trail it creates for you. By capturing photographic evidence of equipment wear, GPS-tagged inspection logs, and automated preventative maintenance schedules, this software makes sure nothing slips through the cracks. It even tracks the expiration dates on operators' certifications. That absolutely prevents uncertified personnel from ever getting behind the controls of dangerous machinery. Because let's face it, when regulators come knocking after an incident, and they definitely will, being able to instantly pull up and generate these comprehensive reports will quite literally save your company from ruin. It proves that any accident that occurred happened despite your rigorous, documented adherence to industry standards, and not because of any negligence on your part. So, I want to leave you with this final thought. Audit your 9 essential safety accessories today. Really look at your A to B devices, your float pads, your digital comms, and your software. Because ultimately, your liability shield is only as strong as its weakest link. Are you truly fully protected, or is there a gap in your armor just waiting to be exposed? Take the time to evaluate your site today. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and hey, stay safe out there.